Hello and welcome to When Will It End? A podcast brought to you by me, Josh Landis, and my beloved co-host, my friend, and occasional bowling tutor, the one and only Charles Hobby. Hello, Charles.
Hello. Well, that was so weird.
Which part?
Well, I mean, honestly, all of it's sort of weird, but like, hello and welcome to When Will It End?
It's a transition for us. If you're a first-time listener, I highly recommend going back to our original podcast, the one and only The Real Deal with Josh and Charles, a name prohibitively misspelled to make it almost impossible to find. But I get to work on it. You'll be no more disappointed in that than any other podcast about movies by two white guys. I think that's a very fair thing to say.
Yeah, and I think The Hunt, trying to figure out how many E's are in it. Yeah, The Hunt might make it a little better than most, where you just like click on something.
Well, people love interactive technological adventures, like listening to a podcast and then trying to Google a previous podcast hosted by the same two losers. So it's fun.
Yeah, it's like Bandersnatch.
Oh, God, don't get me started. Charlie Bookman is a genius. Anyways, when will it end? This podcast, it's going to be about series. Charles and I are going to listen to series of movies, track their progress, give our assessments of how each installment takes us farther down the rabbit hole of these movie worlds. And Charles, we decided to kick the door open here. What's our first series going to be?
Wait, is this a test? Oh, fuck.
No, this is a...
It's not a test. So I should know the answer? You're not going to trick me?
I would describe this as, at worst, an open book test, given our countless conversations about it.
I love those. That's how I passed Greek.
What was the point of those? I to this day, I don't really get.
I do not know.
Yeah.
I basically was failing Greek my first year in college, and I cheated. But she let us all cheat. She gave us an exam and realized that we were all going to fail. So rather than give us a real exam, she said, take this home, wink, wink, and do it at home.
Now, did she wink or did she say that?
Well, I don't really remember. I was younger and was scared to look people in the eye back then. So I don't remember the wink, but there was definitely a wink, because no professor in their right minds would let people, even if she said, which she might have, don't use your book on this. Why would you make them do it at home if you didn't expect them to all use the book?
No, I hear you. It was a design for failure in so many ways.
Or designed for success, because I passed the course. So I think
Hey, Mazel Tov, that's
I think
big.
she's a bad professor that knew that the only way to have an entire class not fail was to all let them cheat. And it all.
And if only she could hear you now crowing over her failures.
Well, she probably won't. But anyway, the answer to your question is...
But hold on, before I say that, I will note for our listeners that while you may not be fluent in Greek, you can still pronounce the name of the director of The Lobster, of The Favorite, of Dog Tooth.
Mm-hmm.
And go ahead, give us a taste of it, because I wasn't even going to try to say it the other day when we saw The Favorite together, but you did it so well.
I feel like these are all these tests, but these are all great tests. These are all things that I can answer with confidence. Yorgos Lanthimos.
Ooh, listen to that.
Oh, those O's.
Also good is spanakopita. What a great word.
Spanakopita, is that a type of meat?
No. Okay, so Charles, what is the first series we're going to kick off for When Will It End?
Shrek.
And why did we choose that? This is no real answer to this. I'm just trying to remember.
Oh, God. This is where I don't have the book for this one. I think it was because, well, we were talking about series, and we have this whole list and this Google. We're going to make the Google sheet public so anyone can edit it and fuck with us if they want. But right now there's a lot of series on there, but we thought that Shrek, well, first of all, I don't remember a goddamn thing about it, and I've only seen the first one, and we figured it's a momentous series. It basically...
A game changer.
Yeah, but it stole, like, all of the funny things basically was maybe a few original lines, but there was a lot of riffing. It was one of those movies that sort of blended satire and spoofing, and that was a big thing back in the 90s, 90s. And I guess before. We don't do that anymore. We don't, like, show scenes from other movies almost exactly the same to make fun of them and have fun. Is that still a thing?
I'm sure it still happens out there, but in talking about memories of the series, and again, I think I've max seen the first two Shrek movies. Yeah, that like slavish devotion to being topical definitely is my
Right.
biggest takeaway. There's like thong jokes. There's
What?
so many references to other things. I believe Lord Farquaad is an elaborate reference to one of the heads of Disney. I got to untangle this whole story. But yeah, they're movies that I mostly remember for as a kid being like, oh, that's an adult joke, but like really knowing it. It wasn't like clever or slyly worked in. A lot of those jokes are just very broadly not for kids while ostensibly still being a kid's film. So I'm really interested in seeing how that's aged now that I'm very, very old.
You're very old. I'm older, very older. We had a little fight. We got into a little bruiser over whether there was a Matrix reference in the first one or if it was in the second one.
It was a devastating rift in our relationship, but
Yeah.
we've overcome that for you, the listener.
Yeah, so I think I've only seen the first one, so I think the Matrix reference was in the first one.
I'm banking on the possibility that you have seen Shrek 2 and possibly suppressed the memory.
It's true. So, do you want to like see if we can like bore our listeners immediately and try to have like teamwork, try to figure out the plot of the first Shrek movie and see how close we come?
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Let's all start with the one thing I know we both remember, and it's the titular beloved ogre at the heart of the series,
Oh.
Mike Myers as Shrek.
Yeah.
And he has to go to the castle.
I think so. But I think also what I want to try to, before we even get to the plot is how good do you think the CGI is going to look?
That's a
Oh,
great question. I have low expectations, but I prepared to be surprised at really any interval. So
I was looking at the DVD covers, and I think they tried to clean them up for the reissues, that they just recently, because you always have to be re-releasing these movies, so people are buying them triple dip. If you go to any Blu-ray forum, any AV forum, they're always talking about double dipping, even triple dipping. People rebuying the same thing over and over again. And
normally I would think you were being needlessly obscure by talking about a Blu-ray forum, but based on our listenership, you may actually be talking right to our listeners.
They're in there. They're the ones that are dipping double, triple, quad. They just fucking see that ogre on a new ogre, a re-ogred, fucking buying another one. They click add to cart. They sometimes even skip the cart just to direct buy right on Amazon.com for that reissue of the, 4 of them now? How many Shreks are we going to have to watch?
At least 4.
At
I
least-
have to say, in the spirit of capitalizing on what you're talking about, I'm a little astonished there hasn't been the Shrek 4DX re-release. Really, I want to get put into the bog or marsh or swamp he lives in. I want to smell that onion
Yes.
that the donkey man has.
He's such an onion.
There's
Wait.
so much we could get out of this experience.
Okay, so I think the CGA is, especially in the first, we're just talking first one, I think it's going to be passable, but noticeably old, I think.
I mean, it must be at least like a cohesive enough story that no one complained about it that much at the time, visually speaking. So I don't know. I'm sure, like, given that it's going to be in its own vacuum of just watching Shrek for like a week, I don't think it's good. I'm more interested in seeing how much it evolves over the course of the series.
Right.
That's just something I'm going to be keeping an eye open for.
Ooh,
how much
good.
better does Shrek 4, or and here's a little spoiler for you. You're probably wondering, will they do Puss in Boots? Oh, yeah. We're doing Puss in Boots.
Fuck yeah. I mean, how
Don't
do we
worry.
skip those boots? But
Oh, God, it's that Puss in those boots.
I'm gonna have to work backwards because I remember a dragon.
I'm going to go ahead and say that in the end of the movie, they go to, I want to say, a volcano or somewhere with lava.
Yes, that's
and
what I
there's a
remember
big
too.
confrontation there. I want to say there's a bridge involved, but again,
Yeah.
I'm now really picking at scraps of my memory.
And I forget, which of them gets fucked by the dragon? Is it the princess or the Shrek?
I believe the donkey
No.
gets into a
yes.
relationship with the dragon.
You're right. That was one of the adult jokes that kids just did not get when the donkey falls in love.
But see, here's what we've covered here is that I remember the bookends of the movie and
Right.
literally nothing in the middle.
We got ourselves a gingerbread man. I remember that guy. There's a torture sequence with a gingerbread man. Gets his little
There's
legs.
a mirror in it.
Yeah.
People talk into mirrors.
I don't remember that, but I'm going to just say, sure. That sounds
Yeah.
right in there. So is there a witch? I don't think so.
I honestly don't remember.
I feel like there could be a witch because this is fairy tales. I don't remember a witch. I remember a short guy, just a little short prince.
Lord Farquaad.
Yeah, which I don't know, maybe in 2018. Still, it's not actually 2018. I keep forgetting.
Well, I remember they make a he must be compensating joke. Remember
Right.
when Shrek sees the castle?
Yeah.
And it took me a minute as a kid to realize that was a dick joke.
Right. So it's another adult joke. But do you think, like, using a short person, I don't know, that might be a little insensitive now. And, we have the whole thing. I remember people being all up in arms about the love story where she has to change for him rather than him just accepting her or something. So I don't know. I think we might be getting into some political debates as we go forward into this series. We might getting into some PC ideas. It's going to be what is it, 20 years old at this point?
Getting there. I think you're right. We would be doing a disservice if we did not apply a rigorous criticism along gender and sexual politics surrounding Shrek and the sequels thereof. As far as moving beyond Shrek 1, I know that I might be the only person in this conversation who's actually seen Shrek 2. All I remember is a massive gingerbread man. That's the one thing I remember from that.
So we both remember the gingerbread. He must be really important.
He's big in the first one.
He must be like the co-star. He must go on the adventure with them, rides the donkey. Yeah, he's going to be big, I think. He's going to lose all of his legs and arms, but he's apparently in the second one, so he's got to be important.
He's a resilient little bastard for sure. Now, have you read William Steig's Shrek, the original picture book upon which this blockbuster series was based upon?
I have, yeah. I used to read all of those books when I was a child. I don't remember anything about it other than the titular Shrek again. He was ugly.
He sure was, and I think that's a major plot point.
Yeah, I used to my mom would try to read it to me. I'm like, no, Mom. He's ugly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Plus, you're probably too busy playing a goddamn video game.
Nah. Wait, what? You think I was... Oh, I guess that's true. People really do play video games when they're... Do you think people play video games when they're reading picture books?
It's possible.
Like, that's like shit you read when you're 3 years old, man. Not when we were kids. Nowadays.
No, back in the good old days.
Yeah, screens everywhere.
Fortnite. I'm wondering if we shouldn't track down a Shrek video game to supplement this with a really deep inquest into the franchise and its various spin-offs. Maybe there's like canonic development in the story in the video game that we're not going to get just from watching only 4 movies set in the Shrekiverse.
I love that. And don't forget the boots.
Can't forget those
I think
boots.
You're right. Do you think, is there a boots game?
That's a great question. It sounds like we've got some research to do before diving into the full watch of the series. But, I mentioned earlier keeping an eye out on the development of the visuals. What are you looking forward to charting over the course of the Shrek series?
Well, I mean, I haven't seen them, so this is a totally new territory. I think what I'm most excited for is to really see how Mike Myers and Eddie Murphy, like, I would imagine, like, those are the two main characters, right? The donkey and the Shrek.
It's the major dynamic of the movies. Yes, it's the
Right.
will they, won't they between Eddie Murphy and Mike Myers.
So I'm really curious about those actors and if you can tell that they're getting sort of sick of the role. Like, I want to see, because this goes on for a decade, probably 2001 to 2010 or whatever. I just you feel like you'd be getting sick of that shit real quick. And can you see it? Is there going to be like a laziness to their performance? Are they going to have other things that they're going to offer that we might glean not through the visuals, but maybe through just their tone of voice and the way they're carrying themselves? I'm excited for that dynamic to see where that goes.
Well, I have good news and bad news for you. One, it's a pre-9/11 movie. It came out just a few months before 9/11.
That is good news.
The 3 sequels took it up through 2010. So you have Shrek 2, Shrek the Third, and Shrek Forever After. The bad news is this. There are a lot of spin-off video game adaptations and a musical and a comic book series.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't surprised. I mean, that's how they make all their money. Franchising.
I'm also delighted to tell you
Toys.
that this is actually bleeding edge information here. And by that, I mean this information is now several months old. But on YouTube, you can actually watch a shot-for-shot fan remake called Shrek Retold.
Are we going to watch? We got to stop. We can't do everything Shrek. That would be the entire podcast would just be Shrek.
Let's stick to the 4 movies,
4
the
movies.
Puss in Boots spin-off, which
5
explores
movies.
the origins of Puss in Boots, and then Shrek Retold. So we'll do a 6-movie series, the 4 canonic main series movies, Puss in Boots, and also we'll watch the fan remake.
Okay, can I also offer one last thing?
Please.
Can you buy anyone, it doesn't have to be Shrek, but some sort of stuffed animal from the Shrek universe and sleep with it every night while we're doing this?
Yeah, I can work on that.
Yeah? You can make it yourself out of like a balled up sock or something. I don't care, but as long as it represents to you a donkey.
I have enough
a
balled up
dragon.
socks that represent cartoon characters in my bedroom already, Charles. I don't know if another one's gonna.
Well, this one has to come into bed with you.
Oh no, trust me, it shall. I wanted to share with you the other 4 major Google queries for Shrek that popped up.
Okay.
One is, are they making another Shrek?
Who's wondering?
The people are. And there was an announcement in 2018 that it's going to come out this year. Shrek 5.
Oh, so the answer to that last question is the next one. So wait, this is sort of like why we're calling our podcast "When Will It End?" because it's really an exploration of the way a series can just go on and on and on. And this means that if the 5th one does come out, are we gonna have to like put it back in, or what? Does it end when we decide to start watching these series?
I mean, that's a great question, and we're really going to get to the bottom of that.
I think we're going to have to sneak in, like if we're in the middle of, say, I'm not going to give anything away, in another series that we're watching down the road. And as Shrek 5 does come out, I think we're going to have to put everything on hold and do that, and then stick that back in and then continue where we left off.
Oh, no, I'll be rushing to the phone when Shrek 5 is finally announced. I can't find a lot of information about it. It's supposed to come out either this year or possibly next year, and it looks like Michael McCullers, perhaps you know him from Boss Baby, says that this is really going to be a reinvention of the franchise. So it should be very exciting.
See, that's what we're talking about. We are looking at these, not just, we want to see where it goes, and we can't, just because we in 2019 decided to do Shrek, and 2020 another one comes out. Yeah, we're gonna be doing this podcast for a while. I'm not like 2021 even. We'll be here. We're gonna have to do it, and I think that's just, we should set that ground rule now. Like, so if we do Mission Impossible, we get through them all, and then make another one, of course, as they should. We're going to do that. We're not going to just pretend that doesn't exist because we already reviewed the series.
Though we can neither confirm nor deny that we will watch the Mission Impossible movies.
Yeah, we can.
I want to share just a few more questions from Google before we sign off on our introductory episode here on When Will It End?
Well, wait. I just want to make sure we're agreed, right?
Oh,
that's
no.
a rule.
We're on the record. Same page.
I just want to set some rules. Like last
You're
podcast
right.
we did, we had no rules.
And honestly, people loved coming to that space for just how anarchic it was. We were really disrupting and innovating almost episode to episode at a certain point. And I don't want to say too much, but the industry noticed, and that's kind of why we shut down.
Right. I mean, it wasn't our choice, but it was our. What are we allowed to say? It was our choice.
I think the settlement says we must commit to that narrative. Yes, it was our choice.
Okay.
So here's a few questions I want to leave you with to end out this episode from people asking Google about Shrek. What is Shrek's last name? Why does Shrek have a Scottish accent? Will Shrek die in Shrek 5? And does Will Smith voice in Shrek?
Is he supposed, like, that last one's out of nowhere?
The question
or is he
is-
in the other ones?
Does Will Smith voice in Shrek? You'll have to find out here on When Will It End? We're kicking it off with the Shrek series. Thank you for listening. Please rate, review, and subscribe, and stay tuned for more. I'm Josh,
I'm Charles.
and this is When Will It End?
This has been a podcast from Josh and Charles Productions that was produced by Josh Landis and edited by Charles Hobby. We want to thank Waste Management for the use of their song Wind Blown Dirge, which you can listen to their, maybe not all their songs, but most of their songs on Spotify, SoundCloud, or some shitty cassette. If you liked what you heard, go ahead and rate us, review us on iTunes. Love that. And you can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, all as at WWIE Podcast. Stands for When Will It End? If you have a great idea for a series you'd love for us to review, or just want to say hi, we got email, so send an email to wwiepodcast@gmail.com. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll be back in a week.